Feng Shui, Your Life and Happiness in Balance and Harmony. Written by Kim Chow. Narrated by Scott Clem. Introduction. The world of Feng Shui is grand and mysterious. Yet, if we learn to understand this energy, this power, if you will, we can improve our lives by finding the balance and harmony that nature intended to exist. Feng Shui is presumed and or proven to be eminent in crystals, jewelry, arranging furniture, and using the elements and colors in the best way to optimize space and vitality. For pets, gardens, aromas, and rooms, Feng Shui is a philosophy that can be used for anyone who wants to increase the meaningful overall feeling in their lives and enhance their spiritual perceptions. Energy and life flow in all of us, and to make the best of it and to use those to the fullest extent, we must know what makes us move, feel, experience emotions, and be strong enough and sufficiently happy to balance all those parts. Learn more in this audiobook about the magical art of Feng Shui, the invisible idea and concept of creating more energy and peace in your life, which will affect everything else you do, accomplish, think, and radiate. Chapter 1. Traditional and Chinese Feng Shui. Traditional Feng Shui refers to the assembly of practices that aim at achieving harmony and balance in the environment by a proper use of natural elements and a good channeling of the life force, qi. Unfortunately, it is very hard to get to the bottom of real traditional Feng Shui, particularly when it is rather hard to distinguish it from the many inauthentic practices that have been spread in the Western society. Traditional Feng Shui is the one practiced in China and taught in other world corners by masters who pertain to a school recognized as part of the tradition. The name of traditional Feng Shui has been tarnished occasionally by the publication of books and guides that have given it a bad name. In order to make it more accessible to the mass use, traditional Feng Shui is constantly analyzed, explained, and promoted by both Asian and Western practitioners. Some of the Feng Shui schools that enjoy the highest reputation at the international level are slightly different from each other and definitely more extensive in practice and applications as compared to the Western Feng Shui associations. For instance, the Sanho school, that has a 1,000-year history, focuses not as much on buildings as it devotes time to the relationships between valleys, mountains, and water systems. Even at the heart of traditional Feng Shui, it often happens that different interpretations of the same charts and symbols be given. The explanation for such discrepancies comes from the separate evolution of the main concepts within one system or another. Generally speaking, the best skilled traditional Feng Shui practitioners are trained not only in one school but in several, and they learn to apply the elements specific to one or another depending on the situations they are faced with. If you plan to turn to use traditional Feng Shui for home evaluation, you may have to provide the analyst with all the architectural information necessary for the analysis. In conclusion, it would be false to assume that after reading some Feng Shui guide you become an expert in traditional Feng Shui. We could actually say that you have taken an ant step towards understanding how the system works. For quality knowledge, good sources of information are essential. Therefore, do not take anything you learn for granted. Checking the elements from several sources makes the best way to stay as truthful as possible to traditional Feng Shui. Chinese Feng Shui. There are many people today who are very interested in the ancient art and science that is Chinese Feng Shui. They are curious as to whether or not it can really usher in positive energy and vitality to their lives, and help with such things as wealth, health, and happiness. While Chinese Feng Shui is no magic bullet that will cure any of your ailments, or that will somehow cause a big bag of money to appear on your front door, there are many positive benefits one can receive when applying its principles to your life. Let's take a look at several. For one, Chinese Feng Shui encourages peace and harmony in the home, and along those lines, encourages people to declutter their environments and their lives overall. Of course, it's absolutely impossible to decide what exactly can and cannot be considered clutter in your home and your life. As the old saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. However, the application of Chinese Feng Shui is meant to encourage positive energy and to get rid of anything that drains you of this energy, or that introduces negative feelings and energy in your life. This is how the thought can be applied to not only your material possessions, but to your life overall. For example, if you have a so-called friend that only calls you when he or she needs something, and has a tendency to be so overly emotional that you feel drained and empty when you're done talking, this person can be considered clutter in your life, adds nothing, and takes everything. It's also true that the Asian cultures value hard work and applying oneself to your family and your career. Chinese Feng Shui encourages you to use your energy in these types of positive ways. By doing so, you will be only encouraging more positive energy into your life. Think about how that might apply in your own family. Do you use your time, your resources, and your energy to encourage strong family bonds? Do you see your family as an investment opportunity for that energy? If you understand and apply the principles being taught by Chinese Feng Shui, that positive energy begets positive energy, then you won't hesitate to work hard at making your family bonds as strong as possible. It is true, too, that Chinese Feng Shui puts a great deal of emphasis on the use of color in one's home and environment. However, be careful that you don't fall for folklore and myth when it comes to this aspect of the art. There is no real basis for thinking that a red front door is lucky or special in any way, or that certain colors will bring prosperity and wealth when used abundantly. Colors used in rooms and areas of the home are simply meant to create certain moods. Bright colors will energize you, while darker colors will calm and soothe. In these few ways, you can see how Chinese Feng Shui can add positive energy and vitality in your own life. The Asian cultures always seem to have placed a great deal of importance on harmony, balance, and peace. In Japan, Zen masters taught that simplicity and hard work were the key. In China, they firmly believed that one needed to respect one's surroundings in order to be at peace. Feng Shui history includes stories of how Chinese experts believed that the earth resonated a strong energy that should be welcomed into one's home, and that certain practices fought against this energy, bringing disruption and chaos. By arranging their buildings and even their furniture and other accessories in the best possible way to respect this energy, the Chinese believed that there could be balance in one's life. History. When learning about the ancient art of Feng Shui, many people are interested in the real story behind it. In other words, true Feng Shui history and not just legend or hearsay. It's a good idea to investigate this because, unfortunately, when Feng Shui tradition began to be introduced to the Western culture, a lot of misconception and out-and-out untruths began to be mixed in with the real practice. Feng Shui comes to the West. Stories about Feng Shui history become a bit muddled when the practice was introduced to Western cultures. No doubt because there were many unscrupulous persons who realized that they could make a fast buck on the unsuspecting Westerners who were unfamiliar with this art. Additionally, there were many New Age elements that began to be introduced and confused as being part of Feng Shui history, when in reality they had nothing to do with true Feng Shui. Crystals, red front doors, star-shaped mirrors, and other elements are included in this. Some have claimed that this practice can heal one's physical ailments, bring wealth and prosperity, and several other fantastic claims. None of these statements are found in true Feng Shui history, as those who practiced it never made such outlandish statements. They do firmly believe that the right use of Feng Shui can add positive energy to your life, and this energy can result in good things and your own accomplishments, but it was never meant to be some type of magic pill that one could use to cure, heal, or work influence over these outside factors. Comprehension of the real Feng Shui history. If you have a true interest in the art and science of Feng Shui, it's important to really know its history. Otherwise, you too could fall prey to one of these so-called experts that is not telling you the truth about its real application and use. Real Feng Shui history is about harmony, balance, order, and positive energy. Any stories you hear that don't include these elements are probably just folklore and should be ignored. Once you understand the real truth behind this art form, then you will be better equipped to really use and appreciate true Feng Shui in your own home and in your own life. Chapter 2. Some Basics. When it comes to time for redecorating or remodeling in order to bring health and energy into your home, you may want to analyze Feng Shui and see if it can truly help in these regards. For example, how does the use of color add vitality and energy, or on the other hand, calm and relax you? How can decluttering your environment do the same? By giving some time, consideration, and critical thought to these subjects, you can begin to analyze Feng Shui to see if there are any real scientific principles that can be applied. Using colors. When you analyze Feng Shui and its use of colors, you need to first of all comprehend how color affects your mood and your overall feeling. Bright and lively colors do energize you. Imagine trying to be upbeat or perky in an all-black room. Doesn't that harsh and stark color instead make you feel brought down, even depressed? Many kitchens, on the other hand, are painted bright shades of yellow or orange. When you analyze Feng Shui's encouragement of the use of these colors for this room, you realize that they are upbeat and considered clean and sanitary. Feng Shui's lack of clutter. When people really begin to analyze Feng Shui, they see that this art encourages the lack of clutter or excessive items in the home or any other place where you are quite frequently. This is because clutter has been shown to make a person feel stressed and anxious. It is like a constant reminder of things that need attending to, clothes that need mending, appliances that need fixing, laundry that needs folding, and so on. This nagging voice in the back of one's head does nothing to encourage positive energy. The basic Feng Shui formulae have a particular purpose and function each. The basic types of formulae you can find in all Feng Shui schools are the corrective, which helps people fix problems and find solutions to several issues, the constructive, which helps improve health and prosperity, and the predictive, which helps people foresee the future and explain the past. Chapter 3. Feng Shui Masters. Feng Shui is a complex and fairly sophisticated kind of art and philosophy. It elaborates on abstract issues that are kind of incomprehensible to most of us today. If you want to learn and understand the principles and basics of Feng Shui, you should hire a Feng Shui master who can teach you the ideas of the philosophy and art that made it so powerful and so popular over the centuries. Choosing the best Feng Shui master might be a daunting task, especially if you are not familiar with the idea of Feng Shui. If you find someone who is not competent enough, you will be probably wasting your time and money, because it takes a really well-informed person to teach you the real ideas and principles of the Feng Shui philosophy, starting from the elements to the small details that can make a real difference in your life. Feng Shui is an art. That on its own tells you a lot about the complexity and complications related to it. Although it dates several thousand years back, it is a rather unregulated field, at least in the West. There are so many people who wish to learn the basics and principles of Feng Shui today that many scammers found the reason and grounds to cheat on others. Many prolific individuals found the perfect way to make money, selling fabricated knowledge that has nothing to do with the origins of the Feng Shui philosophy. This is not just a simple waste of money and time. These people can actually harm your energy irreversibly. Therefore, you need to be very cautious and careful when choosing a Feng Shui master to guide you through the secrets of this ancient art. The prospective master and advisor should be professional, well-educated, and he should come from one of the major Feng Shui schools. You should ask your future consultant to tell you if he knows the basic schools and if he has acquired his knowledge and education from one of them. Most people in the West today follow the Black Hat School, which is condemned by the Chinese scholars, since it is a simple marketing school that sells fancy and fabricated ideas that have nothing to do with the ancient philosophy. Remember that it takes years to master the art of Feng Shui. People who have studied for a couple of years cannot be considered Feng Shui masters. This philosophy has been developing and changing the last 3,000 years. Thus, there are many schools and many principles and variations. Someone who has studied them all and mastered one school is the most ideal person to teach you the basics of this very important and helpful art. Chapter 4. The Do's and Don'ts of Feng Shui. Feng Shui is a philosophy that bases its theories and understandings on a vast array of rules and tips. Therefore, there are many do's and don'ts in Feng Shui that people should be aware of. Let's see some of the most important ones and how you can use them for your prosperity and good health. Starting with the entrance and front door. The front door should be placed on a large wall so as to have enough space on both sides. This space is necessary if you want to allow qi to accumulate. For this reason, you should not put any small or big objects very close to the front door. Do not put any plants, furniture, or anything that can prevent the positive energy from coming in. The front door should be located in such a place so as to face the main room of the home hold. You should not place the front door in a corner or opposite from a large wall. Do not place the front door opposite anything that has sharp edges. This means that the door should not face street corners or T-junctions, because this can bring more negative energy into the home, which is hard to eliminate. The main entrance should not face or communicate with the back door, if it exists. This possible alignment allows qi to escape, therefore you should avoid such a combination. Qi cannot flow correctly if the exit spot is just opposite the entrance. When it comes to the kitchen, the stove should not face the sink, or be placed very close to it, because this brings the two main elements of fire and water into conflict. The stove should be placed in a corner or anywhere far from sources of water. When it comes to the bedroom, there are many rules, as the bedroom is the focal point of serenity and relaxation. According to the main principles of Feng Shui, the bed should not face the door or should not be aligned to it. You should place the bed against a free and solid wall, but it shouldn't face a mirror either. Place the bed in such a way so that you don't see the bathroom or stairs from where you lay. This is important for your night's sleep relaxation and calmness. It is very important to furnish your home this way so as to allow energy to flow and move easily. Do not use many sharp edges, but choose more rounded furniture and elements, because they add to the serenity of the place. Do keep your home well organized and neat. If everything is in disarray, energy cannot really flow easily, and the constant disruption of flow will result in several different imbalances in your home and life. Chapter 5. Other Principles. How can you apply these two basic principles in your own home? Well, you don't need to be a decorator or an interior designer to understand color. Take a good, honest look at each room of your home. How do you feel when you stand in the doorway? Are you energized? Do you feel drawn into that room? Or does the overall look and feel depress you? Do you avoid this room for any particular reason? When you analyze Feng Shui, you need to be able to have that overall look for your home's rooms as well. Also, there are no hard and fast rules about what constitutes clutter in any one area. But again, honesty is the key. Do the things you're holding on to add value to your life, or just depress you and bring you down? What type of energy do you feel when you look at these things? Don't think that you need to keep anything just in case. The negative energy that you're introducing into your home far outweighs any supposed uses you think you might have for these things. So if you take several moments to analyze Feng Shui and its use in your own home and your own life, you will see that there are some great benefits you can derive just from these simple principles. Feng Shui has been a very important part of many people's lives for many years, influencing and encouraging the way they function or build their homes and offices. It comes from China and is a philosophy about prosperity, health, and luck. Feng Shui basics are applied to architecture, interior design, and innovations. A brief look at Feng Shui basics can help us understand how they can influence and affect our lives. The Chinese philosophers think that the universe features an invisible energy that surrounds us all. This energy is called qi and flows within everything and everywhere. The goal is to maintain and preserve qi and allow it to flow uninterrupted and endlessly, so as to achieve prosperity and harmony. Feng Shui is applied in many different ways, and there are many different Feng Shui schools that teach people several principles of the famous philosophy. The most common use of these basics is on home building and furnishing. Describing the use of Feng Shui, it is easier to understand the complex ideas and beliefs about the energy, cosmic power, and change. All people have been at least once in a place that looked really beautiful and inviting. A nice ambience usually features a nice atmosphere and is surrounded by positive energy. This is what makes the space look and feel good at the same time. Aside from the positive energy, there is the negative energy as well. There are many places and rooms that people enter, and there is some sort of uninviting and inconvenient aura. This aura is called negative qi and is what should be eliminated according to Feng Shui so as to achieve the desired prosperity. According to the Feng Shui basics, the sharp edges and many angles can enhance the accumulation of negative qi. If you want to build or buy a home, there are some things you should be aware of. A typical home consists of a living and dining room, a kitchen, at least one bedroom, and a bathroom. Feng Shui suggests that the most important thing is to keep the home clean and orderly. A clutter-free space allows energy to flow and move freely and endlessly. Feng Shui bases its ideas on the 5 elements, which are earth, wood, metal, water, and fire. If you add these elements in the appropriate places in your home, you will be able to make a huge, important step towards the achievement of your goal. Chapter 6. Feng Shui Crystals. How did you feel when you first learned that there was no such thing as the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus? As a child, you may have been hurt or upset. But looking back on it now as an adult, do you see how silly it is to believe in those things in the first place? When speaking about things such as Feng Shui crystals, many people may be upset to learn that there really is no such thing in the true application and science of Feng Shui. As this practice came to the western parts from ancient China, it began to be intermingled with New Age hocus-pocus, which really adulterated the true art form. Many unscrupulous individuals realized that they could slap a Feng Shui label on virtually anything and sell it to unsuspecting customers, and one popular item along these lines is the so-called Feng Shui crystals. But before you start to feel hurt or betrayed the way you did when you heard about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny, let's talk a bit about the true use and history of Feng Shui crystals, and see if perhaps some logic and reasoning might help you out a bit. Many people don't understand how truly simple Feng Shui really is. They believe that you need a Feng Shui reader or expert to explain every minor detail of its application in their home or life, and from this belief sprung the sales of so many items, including those Feng Shui crystals. When people believe anything that some expert tells them, then of course it's easier for them to be taken advantage of. Feng Shui really is all about balance, harmony, peace, and positive energy. There is no magic bullet or talisman that can bring these elements into your life. For instance, if you and your spouse refuse to talk to each other, or if you're hiding a secret affair, all the crystals in the world are not going to give you a peaceful marriage. Hang all the Feng Shui crystals over your bedroom mirror that you want, and there will still be disharmony and chaos in your relationship. Decluttering your life is an important part of Feng Shui, as it's true that sometimes the negative elements in our lives have more of an effect than the positive. Removing old and useless things that bring nothing positive to us, and that just simply drain us and make us feel guilty or depressed, can do much to usher in that positive, uplifting energy that we're looking for, more so than any Feng Shui crystal could do. When Feng Shui crystals are useful. Of course, some people simply like the look of crystals, whether they are by themselves or are crystal ornaments. They do reflect light and can add a certain brightness to an otherwise dark corner or room. If you enjoy your crystal knickknacks for this reason, or just like looking at that crystal dangling from your rearview mirror, then there's nothing in Feng Shui principles that says that you must eliminate. Chapter 7. Feng Shui Cures. Red envelopes, wind chimes, crystals, coins, bamboo flutes, and special mirrors are among the most popular and best-sold Feng Shui cures available. The market has been flooded by a whole range of products derived from traditional Feng Shui and advertised as wonder remedies. What many people remain ignorant of is the fact that Feng Shui cures work when they are placed in the proper section of the octagonal grid called the bagua. Thus, if you buy a crystal for energizing a room, you need to place it in the right section of the room in order to achieve the wanted result. Therefore, one has to learn several basic things about the use and the reading of the bagua before bringing any Feng Shui cures in a room or office. Moreover, if you take the time to study a little bit, you'll be surprised to discover that your home could be full of objects that meet the purposes of Feng Shui cures and therefore can be used as such. For instance, hallways are often the parts of the home where positive qi is broken. To test if this is happening to your home, think of whether you like spending time in the hallway or you simply consider it a functional access way to the other rooms. Feng Shui cures work in the direction of making all of your home full of happy qi. A simple crystal hung somewhere from the ceiling in an area of the home that you don't perceive as friendly will disperse the qi in a most beautiful way. The corners of the homes, the straight angles that doors and furniture make, are often harmful for one's health if we speak in energetic terms. Sometimes, the bad Feng Shui is the result of a faulty home architecture. A relevant example here is the indoor steps that descend down in front of the home door. The Chinese consider that such a steps into door position brings bad luck, and they hang crystals between the bottom step and the door as Feng Shui cures. The demand for Feng Shui cures would be lower if people knew how to avoid common mistakes in the arrangement of their homes and offices. Cemeteries, noisy streets, landfills, or disharmonious neighbors bring a bad energy on the home. One of the many Feng Shui cures for such cases consists in the use of mirrors that reflect the negative energies away from you. The mirrors should be placed between you and the element you want to deflect. In this case, the home windows that are the entrance gates for the noise, pollution, or bad vibes. Chapter 8. The Elements of Feng Shui. Earth, water, fire, metal, and wood. The 5 essential Feng Shui elements are the factors that influence the very philosophy of this art of living in harmony with the environment and with ourselves. Each of the Feng Shui elements has a corresponding color, and their incorrect or imbalanced combination will lead to what is known as bad Feng Shui, equaling disharmony, misfortune, and an unfulfilled life. What exactly is the role played by the Feng Shui elements? Well, it seems that they share the function of qi balancing in a certain space. Therefore, in order to achieve a correct implementation of the positive qi flow, one needs to be receptive and open to the rule of the 5 elements. Here are the main meanings associated with the Feng Shui elements. Water stands for communication, wealth, and various career opportunities if it is used in the context of a fountain. But if instead there is a running sink or toilet, this could very well signal a loss of money and even a poor health state by the waste-associated symbolism. Then, wood is responsible for the creativity one enjoys, as it acts as a stimulant of passion, inspiration, and high motivation. Nevertheless, such Feng Shui elements are far from overwhelming. Keep in mind the fact that they are either balancing or ruining the qi. The life force is more easily transmitted or transferred over a certain area by means of metal elements. Introducing metal in combination with the other Feng Shui elements means causing an enhancement of the qi. Adding too much metal, on the other hand, could be harmful in terms of positive outcome for the location. Too much energy could be destructive. Use it carefully. The home or office stability and solidity are brought by the earth element and complemented by the passion specific to fire. This only indicates the fact that taken separately, each of the 5 Feng Shui elements has its specificity, but they need to be matched as a whole. One can determine whether the qi cycle is unbalanced in the home, and thus realize that the Feng Shui elements are not in accordance by paying attention to the feelings he or she has in that particular place. Thus, if you feel ill at ease, dissatisfied, nervous, depressed, or dominated by other negative emotions like envy, jealousy, fear, or emptiness, your home is definitely suffering from a qi imbalance. If the Feng Shui elements are harmoniously combined, then you will feel fulfilled and in high spirits about the place. Chapter 9. Jewelry and Feng Shui. Crystals, gems, pearls, and minerals seem to have special energetic values in themselves, which is why many alternative healing practices try to determine which elements work well for who. Feng Shui jewelry falls into this category of items that are considered protective, balancing, and nice to wear. Positive and negative energies coexist in the environment, and they influence our lives in manifold ways. The crystals used in the manufacturing of Feng Shui jewelry are just one means of diverting bad vibes by storing positive qi and influencing the wearer. Other Feng Shui jewelry items rely on symbols, knots, Buddha representations, and other elements for the accumulation of energy. The 8-like infinity symbol stands for great wealth and happiness. This figure is part of many amulets and pendants sold as Feng Shui jewelry, and it enjoys a great reputation in attracting good fortune. Then, the mystical knot present in other Feng Shui jewelry items stands for longevity, endless love, and keeps one safe from the pain of separation and disillusionment. The knot is a powerful love symbol worn by people who feel to have found their soulmate. Furthermore, Feng Shui jewelry also has a healing reputation. This quality is attributed to the Buddha figure pendants that attract blessings and the power of medicine Buddha. Sterling silver, rose quartz, jade, Kuan Yin representations, or the yin-yang symbol are just several more examples of the sacred elements used in Feng Shui jewelry. Their purpose is none other than to attract great health, blessings, love, and the fulfillment of various wishes. Some pendants are worn on the hand, others close at heart or at the neck depending on the need of the wearer. Protection and soothing elements are not overlooked either, as they are richly present in many Feng Shui jewelry collections. How can one know which Feng Shui jewelry to choose? First of all, we should mention the fact that when it comes to the use of crystals or precious stones, they are selected depending on the zodiac sign, the birth date, and even the birth hour. Moreover, the temperament of the person that will wear the Feng Shui jewelry has a great importance too. Thus, you should make some research and eventually talk to a Feng Shui practitioner in order to learn the best ways to choose the right Feng Shui jewelry. It is said that every crystal chooses its owner, and this seems to be true in terms of energetic compatibility. Chapter 10. Other Feng Shui products. Various meanings are attached to unique Feng Shui products. They are not simply an expression of personal taste, but rather tools that influence and help to the creation of a positive energy flow in one's home, office, or life. Here are some examples of Feng Shui products that can make the difference in enhancing a rewarding environment. Let's start with a Bagua chart in the form of a mirror or crystal. Shaped octagonally, such Feng Shui products are extremely versatile in usage specificity. Some people use them for attracting good fortune, getting married, accumulating knowledge, or solving family problems. Moreover, the use of the Feng Shui crystals in alternative therapies is also well known for the very good healing effects. Then, the sound of a bamboo flute is known to go for infinity. This is a very powerful symbol of strength and endurance. More popular than the bamboo flute, wind chimes represent the Feng Shui products best known to Westerners. The sound made by the chimes is considered to be yin in nature, and it triggers a very relaxing effect. Considered ideal for gardens, wind chimes create and give away tranquility. Candles are favorite Feng Shui products that allow the accomplishment of the yang, light, and yin, shadow, harmony in a variety of ways. Candles can be used in different corners of the rooms, in offices, hallways, bathrooms, and even kitchens for the enhancement of a positive mood and the creation of a relaxed atmosphere. Candles are well complemented by the use of other Feng Shui products such as incense sticks. Thus, fragrance becomes one major way of adjusting energy in a certain environment. Before the presently used Feng Shui products, simple sandalwood incense was the perfect fragrance to be encountered in Taoist and Buddhist temples in the Far East. According to the Feng Shui custom, incense is burned at the exterior of any entrance to attract positive qi, but indoor applications are also possible as a means of eliminating negative energies. Though we are far from finishing the list of Feng Shui products, we cannot conclude without mentioning the space-clearing ritual bell. Part of a Buddhist ritual, the sound of the bell has such a high vibration that evil spirits cannot stand it and the negative energies are dissipated when rung. These Feng Shui products that have entered the Western world, too, are treated with respect and even veneration in their mother country, China. Such value should also be primordial for the Feng Shui practitioner everywhere else. Chapter 11. Symbols. Symbols have a very rich cultural origin. They belong to a history and a tradition that has upgraded them to the rank of cures. Feng Shui applications are a common practice in Chinese families, but people from different cultural backgrounds can use them and benefit from the bounty, harmony, and fulfillment they bring. It is also true that you should only use the Feng Shui symbols to which you respond emotionally and the significance of which you know. Otherwise, the positive effects of such practices are diminished or altered. Feng Shui symbols contribute to directing a good flow of vital energy into a certain space by bringing harmony and balance to the elements. Feng Shui symbols are considered tools that empower the function of elements, colors, and even the use of the Bagua map. Lots of web pages presently offer all sorts of products that include Feng Shui symbols, some of them suspended on cords, others printed or painted on special materials. The effects expected include balance and harmony first and foremost, but people would also want more love, bigger wealth, and increased fortune. The one thing you should be aware of is that Feng Shui symbols cannot be used randomly. The most popular Feng Shui symbols are those specific to the 5 elements: earth, wood, fire, water, and metal. You can hang such symbols on the walls of your home depending on the readings of the Bagua chart. Then, the Feng Shui symbols of the zodiac are usually worn as pendants, and they are considered more personal by their relation to people's birthdays. Feng Shui symbols come in a variety of sizes, forms, and designs. You can even buy them as stickers and put them in the car or the office. Beyond the importance given to the form, Feng Shui symbols are important by their significance and message. It is not recommended to buy and use Feng Shui symbols randomly without knowing what they mean. Even if the shop assistant may give you advice or information on how to use the items, make your own research and learn what a certain symbol stands for. This is a form of homage paid to the underlying life force that runs through everything. And by knowing the meaning of the Feng Shui symbols, you pay respect to this great gift that's been given to you. Harmony and balance start within us and are augmented and rendered powerful by the exterior. In fact, the theory of yin and yang sprang from the awareness that while the relationships between nature, people, and other things were definitely separate entities, they also had a symbiotic relationship. Without one, there was no other. Therefore, the symbol of the black and white symbol encircling one another was created and started representing the idea that there was always give and take in any relationship in order to maintain harmony in existence. Chapter 12. Yin and Yang. Feng Shui's hypothesis of yin and yang understood how the yin and yang theory applies to Feng Shui principles. You have to understand how the theory came into being to begin with. Basically, you start with values and beliefs of the ancient Chinese people. They believed that everything from the planet to the stars to the human body were all a part of one overall system. Recognizing that there was only one system in which everything existed, there was no superior entity. Each part depended on one another to exist in order to maintain a harmony in life itself. There were no opposing sides, as everyone had to depend on one another to survive and coexist. However, the Chinese soon began to believe that there was a difference between the earth and the heavens above, just as there were differences between men and women and day and night. In Feng Shui, the goal is having a harmonious flow of energy throughout your home. Well, according to the yin-yang theory, if there is more passive energy than active energy in a room, or vice versa, this creates a discord in the balance of energy. Different decorating techniques are employed to retip the energy scales into balance. This balance is achieved through the use of a bagua, an 8-directional map, and a Feng Shui compass. Based on the direction and more in-depth reading of the compass, you can use certain Feng Shui techniques such as the use of color, textures, plants, and other things to achieve a pleasing balance of energy, thereby keeping in line with the yin and yang theory. Translating the yin and yang theory to Feng Shui, all things in the universe are comprised of two divergent yet interconnecting energies, the yin and the yang. The yin is viewed as the feminine force, while the yang is considered a masculine force. These two opposing energies constantly play against each other and create life and energy around everyone. In order to understand how the yin and yang theory applies to Feng Shui, read on how these two interconnecting energies come into play when applied to your everyday life. Yin. This feminine force is also known as a passive energy. There are many forms of passive energy, such as a quiet stillness, darkness, and slow physical movements like some martial arts use to get in touch with oneself. When you have to relax or go to sleep to recharge your inner batteries, this is when yin is predominant. Yang. This masculine force is also known as active energy. While you are awake doing something constructive or active, yang is predominant. The bustling energy of lights and sounds you might experience in a busy place is characterized by yang. Just like two halves of a whole, yin cannot exist without yang and vice versa. Just picture night without day or staying awake without the rest or sleep you need. Each of these examples cannot exist solo and must have the other, a type of symbiotic relationship. Therefore, that is why you always see the yin and yang represented by the black and white circle. Two comma shapes, one black and one white, interlock to create that whole circle of energy. Chapter 13. 3 Interesting Thoughts. One of the reasons that it is sometimes difficult to get a true feel and handle on Feng Shui is that there are 3 different schools of thought on the subject. All of these different views of Feng Shui can be traced back to one ancient master named Yang Yunsang. This master is considered to be the major founding father of Feng Shui, based on the many different writings and teachings he left behind on these ancient Chinese principles. Master Yang developed the idea that each place on earth had a specific qi or important energy that influenced everything. He stressed that one must take into account the different nuances of the land in order to find a favorable site in which to build. From his teachings came the basis of what we know today as classical Feng Shui. Classical Feng Shui. This is the most traditional view of Feng Shui and includes the compass Feng Shui school and the landscape Feng Shui school. In the landscape form, this Feng Shui school takes into account the shapes and imagery found in our natural environment, while the compass form uses such tools as the 8-directional map called the bagua and the lopan, which is the Feng Shui compass. In addition, this traditional school of Feng Shui thought also employed the theories of yin and yang as well as the 5 elements: water, fire, wood, earth, and metal. Calculations using a Lo Shu square as well as your personal Kua number are also used to create favorable surroundings for a proper balance of qi. Black Sect Feng Shui. This is a more recent Feng Shui practice created 15 to 20 years ago by Master Thomas Lin Yun. This school of Feng Shui uses a mix of Taoism, parts of traditional Feng Shui, as well as Tibetan and Chinese Buddhism. Meditation as well as elements of modern psychology is used in this school of Feng Shui. Western School of Feng Shui. This version is also called a modern or intuitive Feng Shui school of thought. Traditional Chinese symbols and practices are eschewed for more westernized viewpoints to balance the qi in a space. While the principles of the classical Feng Shui are used, they are brought into fruition using Western methods. You will discover through various sources during your quest to employ Feng Shui in your home that many interior designers and Feng Shui consultants use a mixture of these different schools of Feng Shui philosophies. Many people may not see the appeal of the ancient Chinese symbols that are used to ensure a harmonious balance of qi in the home. However, they do not have to give up on Feng Shui altogether. With the Western school of thought, those Chinese symbols could be replaced with equally effective Westernized symbols to achieve the same purpose. While each school of Feng Shui thought is different, the end result is always the same. In other words, there are many ways to employ the Feng Shui method in order to create that pleasing positive flow of energy in the home. This good qi leads to other positive changes in life, such as a better paying job, a happier family and marriage, and good health. It is simply amazing what several changes in the home can do to create a better, more energized atmosphere. If you plan to hire a Feng Shui consultant to inspect your home, be sure to ask them what school of Feng Shui thought they follow the most. Employing hybrid Feng Shui principles is not wrong as long as the end result is what you are hoping to achieve. Chapter 14. Feng Shui for Pets. Did you know that Fido or Fluffy could also benefit from Feng Shui? They certainly cannot tell you that they like the way you have arranged their surroundings or that they feel more peaceful, but they will feel the difference. Think about it this way. One of the basic principles of Feng Shui is to get rid of clutter. Think about the way your dog or cat would feel if he or she tried to jump in a favorite sleeping spot only to find it piled down with clutter. It would make anyone, including your pet, feel ill at ease. When you decrease this clutter, your pet will live a calmer, happier life. You can easily see how even the basic principles of Feng Shui will make a huge difference in your cat or dog. After all, you certainly do not want Fido overexcited or jumping on you even more than he already does. When practicing Feng Shui for yourself, your children, or even your pets, you will want to focus on channeling good energy and warding off the bad energy. These are the very basics of the Feng Shui way of life. Here are some tips for your pet. Tips for helping your pet with Feng Shui. When thinking about this ancient Chinese art form, you will want to concentrate on finding the good energy and getting rid of the bad. There are many ways of doing this. One of the most important principles of practicing Feng Shui for your pet is to watch where you place his or her sleeping spot. If your dog or cat has a favorite cushion or bed, see where it is most of the time. Feng Shui strongly believes that beds placed near mirrors can easily reflect bad energy, and beds that are too close to windows let good energy escape. So, if you find that your pet routinely sleeps near a mirror or a window, you might want to consider finding a new spot. In addition to avoiding putting your dog or cat bed near mirrors or windows, you will also want to avoid placing the beds near doors and bathrooms. Believers of Feng Shui think that when you place a bed near a door, especially two doors, the good energy that you want to keep will be sucked out the door and bad energy will come in through the other door. Bathrooms are no-nos too. They believe that bathrooms can promote poor health. It is interesting to see how Feng Shui can help your pet. If you are into Feng Shui, learn how Fido or Fluffy can benefit. Chapter 15. 5 Elements in Depth. When talking about this ancient art and science, there is usually mention of the 5 elements of Feng Shui. Just what are these, and how are they applied? This article will give you a very simple crash course on both of these questions. Fire, earth, metal, water, and wood are the 5 elements of Feng Shui. You'll notice that these are all natural elements as well. All of these together form a circle of either construction or destruction as follows. Construction and destruction. Construction. Wood creates fire. Energy from fire, such as the sun, is needed to feed the earth. Metal is born from the earth. Water can be pulled from the elements that make up metal. Water feeds the wood. Destruction. Fire destroys metal. Metal, such as an axe blade or other instrument, destroys wood. Trees or wood feed from the earth. Dirt from the earth absorbs water. Of course, water destroys fire. How the 5 elements of Feng Shui harmonize. The underlying principle of Feng Shui is that there needs to be harmony and balance. Having too much of any one element in your home or in a particular room is counterproductive and can be overwhelming. Most rooms will have one dominant quality of the 5 elements of Feng Shui and need another element to bring in some balance. For example, think of an all-white bathroom. White is clean and pure and represents water. However, when a room, even a bathroom, is completely white, it can feel cold and sterile. By introducing another one of the 5 elements of Feng Shui, such as earth, this can tone down that sterile feeling. Towels, artwork, and other items that are a warm brown can do the trick. Or imagine a living room that is all brown, which is a strong earth tone. You can feel closed in or overwhelmed, as this is a warm color, but one that easily smothers you. Another one of the 5 elements of Feng Shui, such as fire, can do the trick. Red accents such as pillows or afghans can brighten up the warm brown. You can apply the principle of balancing the 5 elements of Feng Shui in virtually every aspect of your life. For example, maybe your personality is strong and fiery. This can be a good thing, but too much of a strong personality can easily overwhelm people. A campfire is good, but a forest fire is bad. So, consider what you can do to tone down your personality a bit. Think of the earth as being warm and nurturing. Your personality can have some warm and nurturing sides to it, as well as to make you a more balanced and harmonious person. There are actually no right or wrong answers when it comes to applying the 5 elements of Feng Shui to any room of your home or part of your life. You simply need to remember how these elements are meant to harmonize and balance one another, and try to imitate those fine qualities as much as possible. Chapter 16. Feng Shui in your garden. The overall goal of your garden should be to achieve a pleasing and inviting natural space. The arrangement of all your plants, pavers, fencing, and other decorative elements is key to creating a sanctuary instead of a weed pile. That is where Feng Shui principles come in. In review, Feng Shui is the ancient Chinese practice that combines art and sciences to create a pleasing, harmonious environment of good qi. Qi is the universal energy that is embodied in all things. If there is something out of place, this can create an imbalance in qi. The overall goal is to set up your garden in such a way that you have a positive flow of qi that ultimately influences all areas of life. You don't necessarily have to believe in Feng Shui in order to put its principles into play. Regardless of your beliefs, if you use Feng Shui, your garden space will reflect the restful retreat that you were hoping for. When it comes to the garden, you will want to follow Feng Shui practices and start at the entrance. In the best situation, your garden entrance will face south as it will get the most sun exposure. If possible, do not choose an imposing fence gate as it will make your garden area feel uninviting to people as well as qi. A gate with an open design is best as it will keep out trespassers of the human and animal kind while at the same time still allow sunlight and positive energy to enter the garden. In terms of plants, there are no specific varieties that particularly shout Feng Shui. Therefore, you will want to employ various colors from plants and flowers to invoke a variety of moods, just as they would inside the home. For instance, for a cool and calm space, choose white flowers as well as cool-looking purple and periwinkle colors. These are more soothing than vibrant yellows, reds, and pinks that are more spirited. If you love both the bright and energetic colors in addition to the more soothing ones, do not allow them to intermingle. Instead, choose specific areas of the garden and plant the bright ones in one place and calming ones in another. Also, allow green plants to be planted amongst the flowers to provide a gentle buffer for the different types of energy they exude. Balance is also important when planting. Allowing too many plants in one area is akin to clutter, which can drop the energy levels dramatically. Patience needs to be practiced so that you give the plants and flowers enough time to grow lusher and take over some of the empty spaces instead of giving in and trying to plant more flowers and greenery right now. Of course, what is in season will also dictate how you apply Feng Shui to your garden area as well. Just remember that no matter what flowers are in bloom, you will want to balance the primary colors of flowers along with some that complement them. And don't just stick with one kind of flower or plant either. It's good Feng Shui to choose a variety of shapes for your flowers, even if they have the same color. This adds texture as well as energy. Incorporating herbs in your garden are beneficial as well. Some herbs, such as lavender and sage, can then be picked and used inside the home for aromatherapy purposes. You don't have to stick with just plants in the ground either. Use whiskey barrel or ceramic pot planters scattered throughout your garden to add interesting elements and elevate some special plants or flowers. If you plan to build a walking path in your garden, try to create a winding paving path instead of a straight path, which encourages energy to rush through instead of taking its time. A bird bath or even a trickling water fountain is other great elements to incorporate into your garden. The water is viewed as good luck and representative of abundance in the Chinese culture, where Feng Shui was derived from. For those cooler nights, how about installing a chimney in a specially paved area in your garden too? Creating a tranquil garden benefiting of Feng Shui principles is fairly easy once you have an understanding of how positive and negative energy flows. As long as you follow these principles, you have free rein as to the types of flowers and plants. The result of your efforts is a charming, peaceful space perfect for relaxing. Chapter 17. Using Jade. If you're looking to unleash the power of unlimited energy in your life, have you thought about investing in Feng Shui? This ancient art and science promises to bring you good health, good luck, prosperity, and boundless vitality and energy. Which makes people wonder just how much of what they hear about Feng Shui could possibly be true. How can the art of arranging furniture and decluttering your home bring you luck and wealth? Persons do well to think about these things, because there are of course many out there who want to sell you so-called Feng Shui items, many of which have nothing to do with real Feng Shui. For example, is there a real use for the element of jade in Feng Shui? This is a common item you see in Asian cultures, so is there a reason for this? What can jade and Feng Shui principles do for you, if anything? Let's take a moment to review just how it was that this element and this ancient practice began to be intertwined. The history of jade in Feng Shui applications. There's no mistaking the fact that jade is a popular metal element in Asian cultures, particularly in China. In ancient times, jade was abundant, and because of its softness, it could easily be shaped into various forms, unlike diamonds and other stones which had to be worked tirelessly in order to be cut and polished. Using jade in Feng Shui applications did not happen overnight. True Feng Shui history does not include the use of jade and does not teach that there is anything special or magical about the element itself. However, the value of this element to the Chinese culture is unmistakable. In the long history of the art and culture of the enormous Chinese Empire, jade has always had a very special significance, roughly comparable with that of gold and diamonds in the West. Jade was used not only for the finest objects and cult figures, but also in grave furnishings for high-ranking members of the imperial family. Jade and Feng Shui come to the West. When the practice of Feng Shui began to be introduced to Western cultures, it was easy for it to become adulterated, as there were always unscrupulous persons looking to make some easy money from those who didn't know any better. They realized that they could convince any Westerner of the healing powers of jade and Feng Shui, and these unsuspecting persons would rather easily believe them. Jade was known for being a very important element in Chinese culture, as was Feng Shui, and it was easy for some to believe that the two were intertwined. However, the real teachings of Feng Shui don't include anything special regarding jade. It is not considered lucky and doesn't have special healing powers. If someone were to introduce a metal element into a room, or wanted to add artwork for aesthetic purposes, then using jade in Feng Shui applications may work that way. But in reality, that is where this stone's use stops. Chapter 18. The Real Rules. Are you someone who likes rules? Chances are that you don't. Very few people do. Most everyone appreciates several guidelines here and there, but usually appreciates being able to have some room for free expression and latitude. This is one of the reasons that the ancient art and science of Feng Shui is so enjoyable for most people. While it has some very important principles, there are really no such things as rules of Feng Shui. So if there aren't any hard and fast rules of Feng Shui, how can one go about applying it to your life? No rules of Feng Shui, just principles. What is the difference between a rule and a principle? Simply put, a rule is very harsh and rigid, and rarely allows someone any type of freedom for their own personal choices, judgment, or expression. It's also something that you must do, like it or not. A stop sign is a rule, not a suggestion. On the other hand, a principle is more of a guiding thought which allows for a great deal of latitude for someone to make up their own minds about things. Principles are like a ceiling under which there is a great deal of movement. So if someone is thinking that there are certain rules of Feng Shui to be followed, they need to understand that Feng Shui is about making things in your home and your environment work for you, and you personally. What you appreciate and enjoy, and what will bring energy and vitality to your life, is not something that's going to work for someone else. Trying to dictate rules of Feng Shui is something that's actually counterproductive to the entire art overall. However, the principles of Feng Shui are much different. For example, consider the use of color. Feng Shui teaches, as do many designers and decorators, that bright colors add energy and vitality to any space, and encourage you to use yellows, oranges, and shades such as these in an area of your home where you need that added energy, such as your kitchen or breakfast nook. However, the way you apply this principle and to what degree is up to you and your own individual taste. Imagine if the rules of Feng Shui demanded that you paint your kitchen orange, and it was your most hated color. Many have also found that what works for them is to introduce these elements in small doses, in accent items, artwork, and so on, rather than coloring a room completely in one particular color. Making up your own rules of Feng Shui. How you apply Feng Shui in your own home is going to be up to you. Again, it needs to work for you personally. So if you are looking to work with a Feng Shui expert or advisor, and he or she insists that you follow so-called rules of Feng Shui, be wary. Remember, there is no such thing. Chapter 19. Feng Shui Aroma. For the Feng Shui art and practice, aromatherapy is very important in order to promote health and bring our body's energy in accordance and balance with nature. Feng Shui aromatherapy can help us clear our minds, unwind, rid ourselves from stress, and embrace the main elements that rule this art. Since the early years of practice, Feng Shui philosophers used aromatics to achieve their goals and derive better spiritual and mental health. Chinese were among the first who decided to use plants so as to acquire health and balance. Until today, the Feng Shui aromatherapy rules are considered to be the best way to enhance the flow of energy and make ourselves more energized and active. The basis of aromatherapy is the flower essences and extracts from plants and flowers. The first step in Feng Shui aromatherapy is to clean the space from all clutter so you are able to allow the positive qi to enter and stay. You should clean yourself as well, and then use the Bagua map in your space to define the directions. Aromatherapy in Feng Shui is a combination of flowers and directions. Here are the basics. The north is related to career and success when combined with geranium. The oil that comes from the plant smells very pleasantly and has a very calming effect. Northeast is related to knowledge and education and can be combined with grapefruit. The oil comes from the fruit and has a very fresh aroma of citrus. East is associated with health and rosemary. The oil is supposed to prevent the negative energy and evil spirits. Southeast is associated with wealth and bergamot. The oil comes from the fruit and is very helpful when you want to rid yourself of stress. South is associated with happiness and longevity, and its oil is carnation. The smell is floral and protects people, especially the ones who are sick. Southwest is associated with romantic relationships and love, and its aroma is rose otto. This oil is very sweet but has a penetrating essence and is supposed to enhance a feeling of well-being. West is related to children and sweet orange oil. Northwest is related to trade and lang lang, the oil that comes from the kananga tree. It is a delicate and soft aroma and is supposed to make people relax and calm down. These essential oils need to be lit in the burner or sprayed into the four corners of the room in order to remove the accumulated negative energy from the space. 5 to 10 drops of the oil are enough if you are spraying, and 3 to 5 drops of oil to the oil burner are enough to attract positive energy.